Good morning. Welcome to my thought for the day. It's a Sunday morning again, and I hope that you have the opportunity to be in worship today. We're looking again at the temptations of Jesus in the wilderness, as recorded in Matthew 4. In Luke 4, the order of the three temptations is different. They are the same temptations, but they are just reversed. The two latter ones are reversed. So in Matthew, the devil takes him to the holy city and puts him up on the top, takes him to the top, the highest point of the temple, above everybody. The temple was a very busy place, lots of people down below. And he says to him, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down. For it is written, he will give his angels charge of you, and on their hands they will bear you up, lest you strike your foot against a stone." And it's interesting that Jesus had confounded him with his first temptation by quoting scripture. And now Satan quotes scripture to Jesus. It's a very interesting thing, this, because there are lots and lots of errors in the Christian world, and they're all derived from taking scripture out of context and misusing it. We have to be very careful how we use scripture. We can make scripture say almost anything, because there are verses that say lots of different things. We have to be very careful how we use scripture. And Satan takes these two quotes here straight out of Psalm 91, verses 11 and 12. And he quotes them accurately. But the thing is that Psalm 91 is about someone who lives under the shelter of the Most High, someone who makes God his refuge. It's not about someone who does daredevil activities. It's not about someone who throws himself deliberately off the top of the temple. It's a misuse of the scripture. The scripture promises safety and security for all those who make God their refuge. And that is talking about eternal security. In its context, it is saying that we will dwell securely in this world. But we know that actually Jesus himself said that in this world we would have trouble, but that we should be rejoicing because he's overcome the world. And for Jesus, his life was not going to be a life of complete and utter safety, and he knew that. The purpose of God was not for him to use his amazing powers to demonstrate his eternal nature by throwing himself off the temple pinnacle in sight of hundreds of people to draw attention to himself in such a spectacular way. This was not going to be the way for him to draw attention to himself. And Jesus' answer to him, to Satan, is, "Again it is written, you shall not tempt the Lord your God." This was a temptation to use the miraculous powers of Jesus to demonstrate to hundreds of people at one time that he could do anything, that he could do. That it was like, this was a Superman thing, wasn't it? He was going to, like Superman. You can't die. You're not going to. That you conquered death. This wasn't the way that Jesus was going to conquer death or demonstrate that he'd conquered death. He was going to rise again. And Jesus didn't. Yes, Jesus did amazing things, and lots of people were drawn to him because of the amazing things that he did. But he didn't do daredevil kind of things. He walked on water, but he didn't walk on water in front of a cruise liner. He didn't tempt God, because it would have been putting God to the test Is God going to send his angels to look after you? Is he going to do that? And the answer was, no, he wasn't. The angels came and ministered to Jesus when he finished the temptations. But they weren't going to come and support him. They supported him at various points in his ministry. I do believe that. But they were not going to be obvious in their ministry to him in front of people. And Jesus was never going to go and force people to acknowledge who he was, because this is what this would be. Doing something nobody could doubt. Nobody could argue away. And Jesus, up on the top of the pinnacle, did not draw attention to himself, which he could have done, on the top of the temple. But he said, I, when I am lifted up, will draw all men to me. And he was talking about how he was going to die. That it was the death on the cross that would draw people's attention, that people would look away from their sins and look to him and be saved. And again, Jesus, when he rose from the dead, he did not go into the temple, into the middle of the Sanhedrin, the temple council, and show that he was risen. He didn't go to the emperor and show that he was risen. He didn't go. He could have gone to everybody. He could have shown everybody that he was alive from the dead. He only went to those who were already following him, already believing in him, because the transformation Jesus was going to bring was one of faith. People living by faith, not by sight. You can't deny something when you see it. But he didn't. That was not the way to do something bold and dramatic like this. No, this was not the way. But it was something that the devil tempted Jesus with. Why don't you do spectacular things all over the place? They'll soon know who you are. If you are the Son of God, demonstrate it. But Jesus said, no, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. You don't tempt me, and I'm not tempting God. I'm not going to say to God, prove to me that you acknowledge me. He'd had the acknowledgement at the baptism. He didn't need for God to send a horde of angels to help him to prove who he was. Satan tried to give Jesus self-doubt. I'm convinced of it. But Jesus turned him down with scripture again. Right, that's enough from me for today. I'll see you again tomorrow. God bless you. Bye-bye.